Probation for profit?
Well, you have to think of this context. Police for profit would mean that the measurements by which we evaluate the citizens that live amongst us and have granted the authority of our legislature to create laws and create the authority of law enforcement to enforce those laws are usually premised on safety, in that the laws are created to create safety amongst the community so they can live amongst each other in the most peaceful way. Am I wrong? Is that the general task and mandate that government would have, generally speaking? Policing for profit means that what I just described as a goal of safety in the community for it to thrive changes in that those tasked with enforcing the laws so that we can live safely amongst each other are now enforcing the laws in a manner to raise revenue or create revenue for cities and budgets for police and other government officials.
Why is that a problem, Michael? Isn't money for government good?
It's before whether it's good or bad, let's describe why and what has happened. As jobs leave and as our communities get depressed and people are unemployed or what have you, and most importantly, I think the real direct impact is the reduction in property tax for local communities because of the decrease in value of the housing market and also the lack of jobs that are present within these various communities. Because of that, the local communities are not able to function. They're not able to have a budget. They don't have a stream of tax revenue from these residential tax or commercial tax base to be able to pay for the local government. In other words, the government has become too big. The budget by which the government needs to function to sit and write laws and create a budget to pay the police or whatnot. And we've seen this across the state. Some agencies, some cities don't even have police forces. They can't afford them anymore. Pontiac, for example, for various reasons, partly budget, the policing and enforcement of laws is done by the Oakland County sheriffs. Inkster's another town, I think, for a period of time that went without police for various reasons. And you find these things throughout different places. And, of course, you've got the Michigan State Police blanket, which also fills in these various areas so that nobody ever goes without law enforcement within their community. What I'm saying is, though, that the idea of just enforcing laws for safety for our communities change in that because these city governments, local communities do not have the revenue stream that they once had, the task of getting the budget together for the government agencies and its enforcement of the laws through the police come from the citizens. The citizens are now paying this budget directly from their encounters with the police. It's not a question that every year we send legislatures to Lansing. Every 2 years they're reelected and move on. And they go there with the purpose of trying to pass more laws. And every year in Michigan, more laws get passed prohibiting certain behavior that results in opportunities for the police to arrest or have an encounter because they're observing the way that people were behaving. One day it may have been lawful, the next year it's unlawful. The point is we have too many laws that are unnecessary, and we have too many law enforcement communities, and I think the argument is that it's become too big to fail. These cities are not able to function on their own, so they need to find another way to fund their budget. What's interesting is this experience that I've seen holds true, that in my journey, especially over the last 10 years, city to city, town to town, it is possible not to notice that the biggest, largest, most grandiose building in whatever town you drive through is the courthouse. If there's a biggest building in the town or city, it is the courthouse. If there's a new construction that supersedes all other buildings or constructions, new constructions, it is the courthouse. Why is this? Well, one could argue that it is because it's a symbol of social democracy, the criminal justice system with emphasis on, or quotes on justice, or emphasis on justice. And that is a symbol of the methods by which our democracy functions. And that a person is presumed innocent, etc. However, it is also a place that has been created for the citizens to come and have the enforcement of laws they've been accused of breaking ferreted out. If you notice, it is most instances, a well-oiled, functioning machine that chews you up and spits you out. And most people aren't leaving without giving a piece of their hide, pound of their flesh, or something to that effect, because very rarely are you brought into the system and do you escape without some kind of financial penalty at a minimum. And the reason why this is the way that it is because, as I mentioned, the center of every community, when it becomes the courthouse, it's a symbol of how and where the revenue is being brought from. And when the courthouses are the biggest, most grandiose buildings, it tells you that it's being done by way of policing for profit. Final example, small town, northwestern part of the state. The story is that the only available employment in the community is through the court system or the police system. In other words, you're either unemployed or you're working as part of the courts. Those are the only two jobs available. The last restaurant closed down. There's no other jobs available. Is this an exception to the rule? Is this a microcosm of things that don't exist anywhere else? Or is it a sign of things to come? Can you imagine a world where it is exactly like that? You're either working for the big bad state and its court employees, the probation department, drug testing, counselors, domestic violence, whatever. All these rehabilitative measures that are taken to try to help people, which is just reasons and ways to raise revenue. Or is this a sign of things to come? Are we really going in a direction? It's almost like a sci-fi futuristic circumstance where you have the citizens and the police and there's no other jobs that are available. But I digress. But that is essentially police for... What was the question? Police for profit? Yeah, something like that. Jim, where are you?
I'm right here.
Did that answer the question?
It did.
Jeff, what do you have to say about that?
It was very clear.
All right. Well, let's take it a step further. The profit, which is shockingly not ever been pointed out, the motive for profit, is directly in the hands of the police officers. What do I mean by that? Well, the determination of forfeiture, for example, is a determination that's made exclusively by the police officers. The circumstances by which that takes place is that they are judging and evaluating what property is at a house, that they may have executed a search warrant, and allowed to take items that are evidence items, and also there's a whole other slew of category which is called items subject to forfeiture. Wide, broad definition, but one that is defined by the police in the moment that they get to decide what they're going to take or not. The decision of what property is subject to forfeiture is decided by the people who would directly benefit from the property that is subject to forfeiture. Herein lies a conflict of interest at the greatest level. For example, would the world be a better place if proceeds from forfeiture were given to teachers to increase their... And the question then that is begged is, would the forfeiture proceeds still exceed $15 million as they did in 2018? Would we like that or not?
No, of course it wouldn't.
Well, no. I'm saying, would that be a better example? Would we all agree that forfeiture proceeds should be taken out of the direct decision-making of...
It should not be an incentive for law enforcement in any way, shape, or form.
Well, and it shouldn't be an incentive for teachers either. Don't want them picking up the phone and calling.
No, and I don't want teachers kicking in doors.
But general fund, I'd support it definitely going into the general fund.
Well, any of the recipients are then going to become the... But you know what? That's true. What would it have to be reduced to? What do you think is the legitimate number of forfeiture proceeds that would be reasonable for us to accept, and then take that?
Well,
say, okay,
well, first of all,
$15
million is not the number. Like, I know that's what they said it was, but I'm certain that's not the number. It's much more than that. So who knows? I mean, the resistance to tying it to a conviction is foreign to me, and I don't understand how any freedom-loving American could ever support anyone taking someone's shit without proving that they committed a crime first.
They don't know it. They don't know. They don't believe it when you tell them.
It's crazy. What do you think about that, Chad? About the police taking your shit without a conviction?
I think it's going to stop soon.
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so.
You?
Yeah.
Why? Why?
I think that bill's going to pass. Certain forfeitures are going to go off the table.
Which ones in particular are you talking about?
The 50,000 or less. They're going to lose that.
And how much does that make up of it?
Small amount of the total, I understand, but a large number of the cases, I bet.
It also gets people acclimated to the idea that in order for the government to come take your stuff, they have to prove you committed a crime.
Yeah.
And once you acclimate people to that, I think it's going to be easier to say, okay, now we need to remove the cap. Especially, hopefully, once the legislature's makeup changes this November, I think we may have a better chance of getting something like that passed.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we are at 9:15. We're bringing it back on schedule. It says here we have to plug the Michigan Medical Marijuana Association.
Oh, that is a good site.
Chad Carr.
That is a really good site.
Yeah,
Everybody should go to that and check it out. MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
Why is it good? There's so much content. There's
blogs.
good people.
This is what we're supposed to do.
Yeah, there's good people.
Okay.
MichiganMedicalMarijuana.org.
Like this.
You can.
You can register.
It reminds me. Some of the grow forums remind me of like Overgrow back in the day.
Oh yeah. Very lot of good info.
Yeah.
People help out there.
Yeah,
so.
it's good. So hop on up.
Log on.
Yeah, do it now. So we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to come back, and we're going to discuss House Bill 4158. We'll also discuss what an asshole Tristan Cole is.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was good.
I'm in charge of this for you.
I know. Hurry up.
Jams.
All right, you're listening.